Welcome back to Jersey Matters. I'm Larry Menti. Do you know what a real ID is? If you don't, you're going to have to learn soon and get one, especially if you want to fly anywhere. Here to educate us is Sue Fulton, Chief Administrator of the Motor Vehicle Commission in New Jersey. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Larry. It's my pleasure.
So the real ID is coming, and it's going to be massive. Everybody has to get one, right, if they want to fly.
Yes, well, everybody who wants to use their license or ID to get on an airplane, starting in October of 2020, you will need to show a real ID. If you don't have that real ID, you have to have a passport or a military ID. Most people do use their driver license to fly, so those folks will need to have the real ID.
So after October 2020, if I go to the airport and I hand them my license and it's not a real ID, they're going to say, go home.
October 1, 2020, TSA will say this is not good enough.
So when does it start? When can people get their real ID?
We'll be starting the beta testing very soon. We expect to announce any day now the start date and the first agency we're going to start with. It will start in June. We're going to start with one agency. Now, we have a rollout plan that's based on what we've learned from other states. Look, 42 states already are issuing real ID. New Jersey is not. When we interviewed other motor vehicle administrators, we learned a couple things. One, they said we didn't staff up soon enough. We should have started hiring before we did this, because everybody's had trouble. I mean, some like California, the commissioner had to retire, and they've had a whole a bunch of issues. So
and there was a massive turnout in California, right? There was a massive turnout to get the real ID.
There was huge crowds, and today, if you walk in to get your standard license, you say, here's my 6 points. And the clerk looks at them and hands them back to you. In Real ID, to get a Real ID, we have to scan every one of those documents. And what we also learned from states is people have a lot of questions. Well, that takes time. And when you slow those transactions down, you think about the lines that we have today, those lines get really long. So that's why we announced this set of initiatives to upgrade our servers, to replace all of our PCs. We're doing all this in the next 6 months. We're putting in a queuing system with Take a Ticket so that we can track where people are and make sure that we keep it moving. We're also moving some services online, so that if you're not getting a real ID, if you determine, look, I don't fly that much.
And who doesn't need one? Who should determine that?
Mm-hmm. You should decide what's right for you. Some people are going to say, look, I don't fly that much, and when I do, I'll use a passport. They don't need to get a real ID. Or there are some people who are uncomfortable with the federal government scanning all their documents. That's just a fact. We've heard that from people, and they just don't want to get it. That's fine. In that case, you're probably eligible to go online and renew your license. That's brand new. Okay. Brand new. Used to be, you might be able to do it by mail.
License, but you can't fly with that license.
You can't fly with that license, but that license is valid for driving, it's valid for identification, it's valid just like today for a variety of things except flying.
So, are you worried? Is that why you're out here today? Is that why you had the news conference? Are you worried that similar thing that happened in California is going to happen here, and you need to get the information out so you don't have this onslaught this summer?
Absolutely, Larry. We're concerned that we need to do this right for our customers, because people do not need to have their lives disrupted. They deserve for us to be ready when they get there. So we're taking a number of steps to make sure that we've made the process faster, but we also have to educate people, because Real ID document requirements are different. So before you go into the agency, you need to go online, and that's why we created RealIDNJ.com. so that you know you've got the right documents. The last thing you want is to wait in a long line and find out you forgot something, or you didn't know you needed something, and you have to come back. So we want you to only have one trip. Meanwhile, those people who are renewing a license and don't need a real ID, we've created the online portal so that you can renew your license online. If you lose your license and you just want a replacement for your standard license, you can do that online now. That's brand new. You lose your registration, you can get it online. That's brand new. You can renew your registration online. So if we have those folks who are coming in that don't need to be there, we've now given them the opportunity to not have to wait in line and get their work done offline, and then we're going to accelerate the folks who come in for Real ID to try to get our system to work as fast as it possibly can.
In truth, and what I'm getting from you more than anything else is that there's a whole lot of people that don't need to be there this summer. There doesn't need to be a mad rush this summer because people actually don't need it till October of 2020, and also a lot of people don't fly, and also a lot of people have passports. So the Real ID, I think people hear it and think, I need it, I gotta get it, I gotta rush out and get this, oh my goodness, I'm not gonna be able to fly. That's not the case. That's the most important thing.
That's exactly right, Larry. Listen, nobody's going to volunteer to spend extra time at the DMV. I know that, except me. But that's absolutely right. If your license may expire, next July, well, wait till it expires, come in on the regular time, get your Real ID then if you want one. Now, yes, at some point you have to make that trip, but you have until October of 2020. You have time to make sure you have what you need. You have time to make sure that you're coming in. We're gonna have all kinds of information from our new queuing system that will tell you, well, here's the wait times in Baker's Basin, here's the wait time in Trenton, here's the wait time in Eatontown, and you can come in, and here's the wait times by hour so that you know when to come in. That'll be coming later on, but during 2020, you'll have a lot of ability to make sure you spend the least amount of time waiting in line.
A couple important things to get in real quick and that is the cost for this. There is a cost for the Real ID, and when people see a cost, they go, oh, here goes, it's a fee that the state's making money again. That's not the case.
That's not the case. In fact, throughout the beta testing process, we are not going to charge any more for a Real ID than for a standard ID. If you come in on a renewal, you're going to pay exactly the same $24 that you paid to renew last time when you got a standard ID, even though it costs us a lot more to do. It costs a lot more to issue a Real ID than it does a standard ID. But that's going to be the same price to the customer. Now, if you come in and you're not renewing, you do have to pay an $11 change fee, but you won't have to pay an upcharge for the Real ID.
One last important point is you're hiring.
Yes, we're actually adding close to 300 part-time and full-time staff in the 2020 budget. We're also filling open positions now, so you can go online if you're interested in working for the Motor Vehicle Commission. We've got some great jobs available, but we'll be adding that staff. We'll also be consolidating our hours. We're getting rid of late Tuesday nights and adding 2 hours on Saturday. The reason we're doing that, Larry, is that right now we're doing multiple shifts. And what happens is when you walk in the agency, especially first thing in the morning or late Tuesday or on a Saturday, only about 2/3, maybe half of the windows are open. And so that's why that's one of the reasons you wait so long. With one shift, with these new hours, 8 to 4:30 during the week and 8 to 3 on Saturday, we are going to have all of those windows open and operating. That should get you in and get you out, and that's what we owe to the customer.
Wonderful. Sounds like you're ready. Thank you so much. I appreciate you coming in.
Thanks
Sue
for having
Fulton
me.
is the Chief Administrator of the Motor Vehicle Commission. When Jersey Matters continues, meet a woman who had a second chance of life thanks to her organ donor.